Have you ever looked back on something you used to do and thought, why didn't I stop that sooner? It's funny how age brings clarity. Things that once felt urgent no longer matter. Habits we thought were harmless turn out to be costly. Beliefs we carried for decades suddenly feel heavy and wrong. Today, I want to talk to you about 6 common habits that no one over 50 should continue doing. And not because someone told me, but because life showed me, sometimes the hard way. If you're over 50, I promise this. Stopping these 6 things will not only save you time, energy, and health, it might just change the next chapter of your life. Let's start with the first one. Stop saying yes when you mean no. For years, I was the man who couldn't say no. Can you help me move this weekend? Sure. Can you take care of this project last minute? Of course. Can you watch the grandkids for the 5th weekend in a row? No problem. Until one day I sat alone, exhausted, bitter, and quietly resentful. I'd spent decades pleasing everyone but myself. At some point, you have to stop living to keep the peace and start living to keep your peace. When you're over 50, your time becomes more precious. And your energy, even more so, protect it. Don't give it away so easily. Learn to say no without guilt. A soft no now saves you from a loud regret later. 2, stop ignoring your body's warnings. That little pain in your side. The way you've been more tired than usual. That small lump you keep ignoring. After 50, your body doesn't bounce back the way it used to, and those small whispers, they become shouts later if you don't listen. I once ignored a strange ache in my back for 3 months. Just age, I told myself. Turns out it was something more serious. I was lucky. Many aren't. Listen to your body like you'd listen to someone you love, because it is. It's been carrying you through everything. If you've ever ignored those little signs, if this is resonating with you in any way, take a second and like this video and subscribe. This message might be what someone else needs to hear today too. 3, stop holding on to people who drain you. You know exactly who I'm talking about. The friend who always has a problem but never listens to yours. The relative who never calls unless they need something. The person who makes you feel small, guilty, or exhausted. I once kept a friendship alive for 30 years. We grew up together, laughed together. But by our 50s, all that was left was tension and one-sided effort. One day I let it go, not in anger, just in peace. It felt like breathing fresh air after years in a crowded room. Your circle may grow smaller, but your peace will grow larger. And that trade is worth it. 4, stop putting yourself last. We were raised in a time when sacrifice was a virtue. Give to your family, give to your work, give to your community, and give what's left to yourself if anything remains. But after 50, you've paid your dues. You've raised your children, you've worked your hours. Now it's your time too. Self-care isn't selfish, it's survival. Whether it's taking that walk in the morning, cooking for yourself instead of grabbing whatever's quick, or just sitting with a book for an hour, do it. Not because you've earned it, but because you need it. When I started putting myself back on the list, something amazing happened. I became better for others too, more present, more loving, more joyful. 5, stop living in the past. Ah, the good old days. I still remember the way the house smelled when my kids were young. The sound of the radio in my first car. The feel of my wife's hand before the arthritis made it ache. But if we live there too long, we miss the gifts sitting right in front of us. The laughter of grandkids, the warmth of morning light, the kindness of a neighbor. Don't let yesterday steal today. Carry the memories, but keep walking forward. The present is still rich with wonder if you're willing to see it. 6, stop waiting for the perfect time. There is no perfect time to start that project, to take that trip, to say the words you've been holding in your heart. I've known men who waited until retirement to live. Then illness came. I've known women who waited to say, I love you until it was too late. If it matters, do it now, say it now, begin it now. Because time is no longer something we can waste like we used to. And here's the thing I want you to remember more than anything. It's not too late. Not to change, not to heal, not to live differently. Whether you're 50, 60, 70, or beyond, every day is a door. And it opens to something better if you choose to walk through it. If this message touched you, even just a little, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe. It helps others find this message. And it helps us keep spreading stories and truths that matter. I'll leave you with this: you are not too old, you are not too late, you are not done. There is still so much ahead. Let's make sure we don't carry old habits that don't belong in our future. Because when you stop doing these 6 things, you make room for joy, clarity, peace, and purpose. And one day, you'll thank yourself for making the change today. There's something strange that happens once you stop doing the things that no longer serve you. The world doesn't end. It opens up. When I stopped saying yes to everything, people didn't abandon me. They respected me more. When I let go of draining relationships, my real friends stood out like bright lanterns in the dark. When I put myself first without guilt, I didn't lose anyone, I found myself. That's the thing about life after 50. It's less about proving and more about pruning. You don't need to collect more, you need to carry less. Less regret, less resentment, less pressure to be who you were 20 years ago. Let me share with you something I learned the hard way. Something I wish someone had told me when I turned 50. You don't have to keep being who you used to be. So many of us spend our later years trapped by old identities. The strong one, the caregiver, the fixer, the silent one. We play roles we no longer enjoy just because we always have. But the truth is, you're allowed to evolve, you're allowed to rest, you're allowed to speak, you're allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to become softer, or bolder, or quieter, or braver. One of the greatest regrets I've heard from others my age is this. I wish I had allowed myself to be more honest about what I really wanted. So ask yourself, what do you want? Forget what you used to want. What calls to you now? Maybe it's to slow down, maybe it's to try something new, maybe it's to finally forgive someone, including yourself. Whatever it is, it's not too late. Now I want to share a little story about a woman named Lorraine. Lorraine was 74 when she finally started painting again. She used to love art in her 20s, but she gave it up to raise a family. I thought that part of me was over, she told me. But when her husband passed and the house grew quiet, she picked up a brush again. Every time I paint, she said, it feels like I'm recovering a little piece of myself. Now her grandchildren call her their artist grandma, and she's happier than she's been in years. That's what happens when you stop doing what no longer fits. You make space for the parts of you that got buried along the way. If this resonates with you, if it's stirring something in you, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe. There are others out there who need this message just like we do. Let me ask you something. Have you ever caught yourself waiting for permission? Permission to rest, permission to feel, permission to speak your truth, permission to stop carrying burdens that were never yours to hold. Here's the truth no one tells you. You don't need permission anymore. Not at this age. Not in this season. You've earned the right to be exactly who you are without apology. You don't need to explain why you said no. You don't need to justify why you left the party early. You don't need to prove your worth to anyone. After 50, you are allowed to live in alignment, not obligation. Now here's something I tell myself every morning. I am no longer sacrificing myself to make others more comfortable. That doesn't mean I stop being kind. It just means I stopped disappearing. I stopped overextending. I stopped over-explaining. I stopped pretending, and you can too. Because the older we get, the more sacred our time becomes, and if you don't guard it, who will? We'll keep going in just a moment. There's more I want to share with you, more personal truths that I hope will help you navigate the years ahead with joy, strength, and clarity. But for now, let me say this. You're not just older. You're wiser. You're freer. You don't owe the world the same version of yourself forever. You're allowed to change. And when you do, when you finally stop carrying what isn't yours, you make room for something beautiful to arrive. And believe me, it will. There's a strange myth in our culture that after a certain age, life just starts winding down, that we're meant to slowly shrink back, make less noise, take up less space. But I've learned something else, something truer. After 50, we don't shrink, we distill. We become stronger in who we are, clearer in what matters, less interested in the unnecessary. And when we stop doing the things that weigh us down, we start rising into a version of ourselves that's wiser, lighter, and more free. Let me tell you about a man named Paul. Paul was 58 when I met him, and he had just left a job he hated. He had worked there for 30 years, same desk, same routine, same complaints every Sunday night. When he finally walked away, people thought he was crazy. No pension, no backup plan. But Paul wasn't afraid. He said something I'll never forget. I'd rather live 5 honest years doing what I love than 20 more stuck in a life that makes me feel invisible. He didn't retire to do nothing. He retired to do what mattered. He started helping kids learn woodworking at a local school. He said, "I feel younger now than I did at 45. It's not about leaving everything behind. It's about leaving the right things behind. There's an art to letting go of chasing approval, letting go of outdated goals, letting go of trying to fit where you no longer belong." So ask yourself, what are you still holding on to out of habit, not happiness? Who are you still trying to impress when peace would be better than praise? If this touches something inside you, take a moment to like this video and subscribe. The more we share these stories, the more people realize they're not alone in feeling ready for a change. Let's talk about another truth that becomes crystal clear after 50. Time is no longer something you trade for money or approval. Time is now your most valuable currency. And the older we get, the more we must become intentional with how we spend it. Don't spend your days scrolling through negativity. Don't waste your evenings arguing with people who don't want to understand. Don't pour your energy into conversations that drain the life out of you. Spend your time where you feel most alive. Spend it with people who listen when you speak. Spend it on memories, not regrets. I used to be someone who said yes to everything, every favor, every invitation, every responsibility. But one day I looked around and realized I had no time left for the things I actually loved. So I started saying no to the noise so I could say yes to the meaningful. That's when life began to feel full again. If you haven't done it yet, I encourage you, today, to sit down with a blank page and write these two things. What drains me? What fills me? Then start adjusting your days accordingly. You don't need permission, you just need clarity. Because after 50, it's no longer about building a life that looks good to others. It's about building a life that feels good to you. And you, my friend, still have time to do just that. There's something beautifully rebellious about getting older. Not the loud, defiant kind of rebellion, but the quiet, powerful kind. The kind that whispers, "I don't need to pretend anymore." After 50, we stop performing for approval and start choosing peace over pretense. And the more we release what no longer fits, the lighter life becomes. Let me tell you about June. June turned 65 last spring. She had spent most of her life being a caretaker for her parents, her husband, her children, even her neighbors. She never complained, but you could see it in her eyes, the exhaustion of being everything for everyone. Then one day, she booked a solo trip to the coast. Just a week, just her. She sat by the water, read a stack of books, walked barefoot on the sand, and watched the sun rise without having to answer to anyone. When she came back, something was different, softer, freer. She told me, "I remembered who I was before the world told me who to be." That's what happens when you stop doing what's expected and start doing what's true. So ask yourself today, what would I do if no one was watching? What part of me have I been hiding just to keep others comfortable? The answers might surprise you. Because freedom at this age doesn't come from having nothing left to lose, it comes from realizing what's finally worth protecting. Your peace, your joy, your true self. And you don't need to go to the coast to find it. You just need to give yourself permission to want it. If this feels like something you needed to hear, like a quiet truth you've been holding inside, please like this video and subscribe. It helps more people hear stories like this, and maybe even find themselves again. Now, here's another truth we don't talk about enough. You're allowed to slow down, not because you're weak, but because you're wise. You don't have to keep up with the pace of a world that's always rushing. You can walk slowly through your morning. You can sit longer with your coffee. You can take your time in conversations. Slowness is not laziness, it's presence. And presence is where peace lives. I used to feel guilty for taking a nap in the afternoon, for saying, "I don't want to go out tonight," for leaving dishes in the sink to sit in the garden. But now I understand something. This life isn't about how much we get done. It's about how deeply we feel while doing it. You don't have to race anymore. You can rest. You don't have to impress anymore. You can simply be. And when you give yourself that kind of grace, everything starts to change. So take this as your reminder. You don't have to be busy to be valuable. You don't have to be productive to be worthy. You just have to be present. And that is more than enough. We'll keep going soon. There's still more to uncover, more stories to tell, more wisdom to pass on. But for now, take a breath, not for anyone else, just for you. There's a special kind of wisdom that only shows up after you've been through some things. You don't earn it from books. You don't get it by accident. You earn it through living, through loving, through loss, through long nights and even longer mornings. That kind of wisdom settles deep in your bones. It doesn't need to shout, it just knows. And once you have it, the question becomes, what will you do with it? Let me tell you about Harold. Harold was 72 when he realized something most people never do, that the wisdom he'd gathered over the years wasn't just for him. It was meant to be shared. So he started writing letters to his grandchildren, one each week. He didn't talk about money or success. He talked about mistakes, regrets, hopes, quiet victories, things he wished someone had told him. Those letters became a treasure. One of his granddaughters told me, "I feel like I know him better through his letters than I ever did in person." That's the power of your truth. It doesn't just live in your mind. It lives in the lives you touch when you're willing to be real. So if you've lived through something, and I know you have, don't keep it locked inside. You don't need a platform, you don't need a crowd. Just one person who needs to hear what you've learned the hard way. Write it down, speak it over coffee, pass it on in a quiet moment, because someone out there is just beginning a chapter you've already finished. And your story might be their survival guide. If you believe in the power of passing down wisdom, please like this video and subscribe. It's one small way to help grow a community where our experiences matter and our voices are honored. Now let's talk about something else that often gets overlooked, how we treat ourselves inside our own minds. After 50, we must stop being our own harshest critic. You've spent decades picking yourself apart. Too much of this. Not enough of that. Maybe you didn't make the money you hoped for. Maybe you didn't stay married. Maybe you weren't the parent you wanted to be, but here's the truth. You did the best you could with what you had at the time. And if you knew better then, you would have done better. So now, let yourself off the hook. Talk to yourself the way you'd talk to someone you love, not with blame, with tenderness. This chapter of your life deserves a gentler narrator. No more replaying old failures like they're your favorite song. No more dragging around shame that was never yours to carry. You are not your worst moment. You are not your biggest mistake. You are the sum of every time you got back up, of every time you kept going when you wanted to give up. And you're still here, still growing, still worthy of peace. So be kind to yourself, because you, more than anyone else, are listening to your own words every single day. And those words should feel like home. We've got one more part to go, one final message to help close this journey with purpose and clarity. But before we get there, take a moment today to reflect on this. What would change in your life if you gave yourself the same compassion you give everyone else? Think about that, because it might just change everything. Let's bring this journey home. You've heard the stories, you felt the truths, maybe you've even recognized a few parts of yourself you're ready to let go of. So now the question is simple: what comes next? What do you do with this one wild and precious life that's still unfolding, even after 50, after 60, even after 70? You live it, fully, truthfully, softly, strongly, not like someone running out of time, but like someone who finally understands what time is truly for. Let me tell you something I believe with all my heart. These years, the ones you're in right now, can be the most sacred, most honest, and most meaningful chapter of your life. Not because they're perfect, but because they're yours. You've earned your way here. And that means you don't have to keep carrying what no longer belongs. You don't have to prove your worth, chase people who don't value you, pretend to be fine when your heart is tired. You don't have to say yes to everything, apologize for taking up space, keep holding on to old identities that no longer fit. What you can do is choose. You can choose rest over rushing, peace over pressure, joy over perfection. You can choose to let go of the 6 things we talked about in this video and start choosing yourself every single day. Because when you choose yourself, everything else falls into place. Your relationships get healthier, your days feel lighter, your mind becomes quieter, and suddenly aging stops feeling like a slow fade and starts feeling like a deep bloom. Like a tree that doesn't apologize for shedding what's dead. Like a river that doesn't rush but always flows forward. This isn't the end. It's a beginning. And if you're still here with me, I want you to know I'm proud of you for taking this moment, for choosing reflection, for listening to that quiet voice inside that says, maybe it's time for something different. Please, if this series has meant something to you, like this video and subscribe. It helps us grow a space where aging is honored, not feared, where stories are shared, where truth is welcome. Before we end, I'll leave you with this. You are not here to hustle your way through the years. You are here to live them with intention, to taste your coffee slowly, to laugh without restraint, to cry when you need to be honest about what hurts and generous with what heals. You are here to love and be loved, to rest without guilt, to walk in the sunlight with nothing to prove. You are not less because you are older. You are more. More whole, more aware, more free. So take all the wisdom you've earned, take all the mistakes you've made, take all the love you still have left to give, and go live like someone who knows how precious this life really is, because it is. And so are you.